Here we are about 7 or 8 modules into the course, and we've already become familiar with many of Matlab's functions. Some of them that we've used are called built-in functions. Here I've listed 10 that we're very familiar with. These important functions are written in C or assembly language, and they give Matlab its basic functionality. Programmers, such as engineers and developers at MathWorks, the creators of Matlab, and yourself and other companies and many others, you can look on the internet, or specifically you can look at the Matlab file exchange. They expand the functionality by writing their own M-file functions, which use built-in functions as well as other existing M-file functions. The command linspace, which we've used, is an example of an M-file function. This module is all about M-file functions, so let's get started and see how to write these. The first line of code in an M-file function is called the function declaration line. Here's an example of one. Let's go through each part of it. Here is the name of the function. This function is called vecop. The function should be saved in a file with the same name as the function and with a .m extension. So this function should be saved in a file called vecop.m. Following the function name, there's a parentheses and a comma-separated list of variable names. These are the input arguments. This particular function has 2 input arguments. Now within the function, the names of the input variables are going to be v and w. Functions also can have no input arguments. On the other side are the output arguments. Notice that they're enclosed in a square bracket, and this particular function has 2. The function vecop's purpose is to compute these variables based on the values of the input arguments. Functions also can have no output arguments. Let's take a pictorial view of vecop. Here's a block diagram showing that vecop accepts 2 input arguments and then, like a machine, produces 2 output arguments. The arrows indicate the cause and effect that the output argument values depend on the input argument values. That's why they're referred to as inputs and outputs. There's one more thing to cover before we get into the details of vecop. Let's look again at this first line, the function declaration line, and remember that it has square brackets on the left-hand side which are used to define the output arguments. So I want to really emphasize that. In this usage, the square brackets do not represent the concatenation operator of stacking arrays. It's simply a new notation or new syntax used to define the list and the order of output arguments of a function. So don't get that confused. I'll even reiterate that again later on in the module. Turns out that not only is it used for defining the output arguments of a function, but square brackets will also be used when we call a function with multiple output arguments. We've already experienced this numerous times. For instance, when we call the sort function, we used a square bracket and then 2 output arguments to call sort.